Hey everybody, how's it going? So thanks for coming along to the beach for another episode of this Planet Coaster mini-series. So last week we were doing all of these roller coasters, so if you need to go and see that, then you are most welcome to. Thank you so much for all of your support, by the way. This week we are focusing our attentions on the flat rides, and then next week we're focusing our attentions on shops. So let's get straight into it. Do you know what, you guys? When I first started this series, I genuinely thought it was going to be a case of throwing a few rides and coasters into a small space, decorating it, calling it done. There's your series. I've just spent 9 hours, cycling through about 40 different ride combinations to get this underwhelming mess. So, can I at least get a thumbs up for that? So what I've done here is a palette of rides that I think would fit into this kind of fun fair. So we are missing some of the classics, you know, we're missing things like the chair swings and all of that sort of stuff. But I've done my best to squeeze in as many rides as I can. And of course the old fight comes out that if the ride pads were smaller we could fit more in, whatever. Plus I also need to remember as well that I need to get shops and game stores and everything in here, so I can't pack this out with every single ride that's in the game in the space that I've got. I need to leave gaps like this for food stalls and stuff, so watch this space. But let's have a look at what we've got anyway. I've done the best with the space that I've got. So of course, where you have small areas, you pack in the small rides. So the Lupo plane, for example, is down here. It just feels like they'd throw it down there because they've got the space to go ahead and do that. And then we're going to come to everyone has a Ferris wheel, right? So I sounded really disappointed, didn't I? Oh, it's a Ferris wheel. So no, it felt like this park needed to have a Ferris wheel, despite the fact you've got a great big one outside here. It needed a Ferris wheel. It needed to compete. And then of course, no park like this is going to be complete without a carousel. And I chose the big carousel because we do have quite a few people. Just to remind you, I still haven't changed the guest spawn rate on this, so this is a mess, right? This whole series is a mess, let's be honest. So then we come over to another small ride packed into a small area, but also packs a massive, massive thrill. It's the Ascendants. I did have Hyper Jump in here, but the pad is the same size. This offers more value for money, so we've gone for the Ascendants instead. And then we're going to come over to the classic waltzers. We call them waltzers, but yeah. Different areas of the world will call this different thing. We call them the waltzers where I'm from. No park like this would be complete without it. Don't know how I'm going to decorate it. Don't know how I'm going to kit it out yet. I might put a skin to it yet, so watch this space. Then yes, of course, we're going to have a whirly rig. It wasn't going to be complete without a whirly rig, so I've thrown that in to the back of the coaster here because it kind of felt like it fitted quite nicely in this area. It absolutely needed dodgems, so here we are with the dodgems, and it's actually got quite a big queue. I didn't think it was going to get such a queue. So I'm not going to skin this one. I'm just going to put some decorations and kit this out and stuff. This would probably have a little bit of theming, you know, like road signs and road cones and stuff, the cheap stuff that you can throw down. So I think I might end up doing a little bit of theme on this one, just because we've got some space and I need to make that gap make sense. Again, it's that argument. The pad for this ride should only be up to here. So I'm going to try and make that fit in as much as I can. Then we need thrill rides, right? So I've put the Forge in. I had the what's it called, the Insanity in originally, but that felt too permanent. This feels more like a trailer ride, if you like, a carnival ride. So that's what we've done. I've put this one in, and it's big, it's imposing. It just fits perfectly. And then, because you're near the sea, you're going to want some kind of a view. Now, we have that massive Ferris wheel out the front, so you do need something that's going to compete with the views that are offered by that Ferris wheel. And so I've chosen the Sundial because it's just so massive and so big. And actually, Funland has also got one of these as well, so it kind of makes sense. You know, the precedent is set in this kind of space to have this kind of ride, so we are good to go. Then of course you need spinny spewy rides, and I've put the two together. So this is the smaller of them. I did want the breakdance, but the pad was too big, so I've chosen I can't remember which one this one is. Orion or whatever it's called, this spinny spewy one. And then the scissor. Now I wanted to put the actual scissor in because it's the more modern version of this, but again, too big a pad, so this is the smaller version, the smaller pad version of that one ride. So that's what I've put in here, just to make it make sense. Again, we just have to believe that it's the modern version. It still fits nicely, it still does its job. Of course I need to recolor all of the rides. I'm not going to leave these as the default colors that come with the game, so they are going to be recolored, and of course I need to skin some of them. And of course you will probably have noticed that there's this little bad boy here that's not open. Now every good park is going to need some kind of ghost train. So this is going to be the star of the episode, everybody. I kind of figured that I can't just do an episode where I throw down a few rides, put up a few fences and call it done. I need to put some effort into something. You need something good to look at. So we are going to do a ghost train. And I'm going to kit this out now, and I will see you in a minute. Alright then, you guys. This has become a bit of a race to the bottom to see just how low the park rating can go, because when you get inside, it's a bit of a mess. But it's fine. This is the view from the outside, and I actually really like how this is coming along. It's exactly as I thought it was going to be. You've got a couple of rides sticking out the top. It creates enough intrigue. It moves, so it's not a static view. It's actually, yeah, I really like it. And so let me just get the camera right. Draw it out for dramatic effect. There we go. So there's some changes that have been done. Of course, this is the concrete floor that normally lives here. I've moved it out of the way so I can edit the paths and stuff. And please remember, the spaces are there intentionally. I need to put stuff in. I've also made a monumental mistake. There's no toilets. And I didn't put any toilets in here either, because in Western Supermare, they actually have a block of toilets up here. So I forgot to put it in. So I'm going to use portaloos, but these aren't going to be, I'm sorry guys, they're not going to be Chacho decorated toilets, because portaloos are small. And in order for me to do proper working toilets in the game, I need to make bigger toilets. So I'm just going to let you know that next episode these are just going to be decorated as they are. So let's do a tour, because you can see there is plenty that has changed. So where do we start? Where did we start last time? Don't remember. Let's go the opposite way round. Oh, actually we started here, didn't we? So we're not going to go the opposite way around at all. So we've got the looper plane. I'm using this Harris fencing quite a lot, this temporary fencing that we used. I also used it quite a lot in Fundy Fun Spot. And that's because when you throw rides down into an area and they're all temporary, you kind of have temporary fencing. This would have been loaded off a trailer, and they would have put this metal mesh floor down. I promise this flooring makes sense when the concrete is in there. At the moment, it doesn't make sense because so we use this temporary fencing, and it's just there because they've just thrown this ride down here. It doesn't come with any fencing, doesn't come with any whistles or bells or whatever. And then we come to the Ferris wheel. Slightly more permanent fencing with this one. This would come with some kind of fencing, and I've just put some flags in to make it a little bit decorative, just to make it a little bit better. Of course, I've got the final detailing phase to go yet, right? So there's still some stuff that needs to be done. There's still strip lighting and whatever that needs doing. So that's the Ferris wheel. Coming over to the merry-go-round then, I've used two types of fencing on this one. So I've put the wooden fencing. So the wooden fencing is actually really easy to use in a modular basis, in the sense that you just sort of load them onto the back of a lorry, you offload them again, and you put them down. But what you tend to find in fairgrounds like this is that you don't actually have a queue for this kind of ride. You just sort of gather around the outside of the ride, and then whenever the previous ride is finished, you then load at any point along the side here. It works the same for the Dodgems, it works the same for a lot of the rides. So Planet Coaster is forcing us in this instance to actually have queues, and that's fine because that's how it works. So what I've done here is I've actually put some kind of extra fencing around here, so it's almost like they pack all of this extra fencing onto a lorry, and then they just drag it off and they just use it as and when they need it. So that's why the two fences don't match, because when this is in another location, none of this fencing would exist. You would just load wherever you need to. And then over in the Ascendants, this one's a bit more... Oh, yeah, by the way, I swapped this out for the Hyper Jump. It was the Ascendants originally, but I swapped it out for the Hyper Jump. Just in case you're looking to correct me in the comments. I may have beaten you to it. In fact, you've probably just already commented and you don't realise, because that happens a lot. So this is a bit more of a permanent installation. It needs to be rooted to the ground. You do get travelling ones. There's one that goes around with Winter Wonderland in Hyde Park. It's awesome. Absolutely massive, love it. But this one needs to be rooted into the ground, so it's a bit more permanent. We've got a bit more don't die fencing in this one, so that's kind of there, stuck there. What I do need to do is put the support for the coaster back in. When I put the queue in, it's taken the support out, so I just need to put that back in. And then we're going to come around to this way. So you're going to see that there's lots of different styles of fencing and lots of different ways of putting things together based on the fact that these are fairground rides. So this one, for example, is actually pretty good at already looking like a fairground ride. So all I need to do is just fence off an area that comes with it. So what you would have in the real world is that this would actually be open and then none of this fencing would exist. Exactly the same principle as the merry-go-round that we've got. So that's what I'm doing here. I've just put some fence around and then the Harris fencing just to create a temporary queue going along here. So it's almost like where this is elsewhere, people would queue either along here or whatever. So that's there. The whirly rig, that's had its queue done. That's just standard, right? I've just put this wooden fencing that we're using on the coaster just to bring it all through. Green and blue, you should never use green and blue without a colour in between. But it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's tacky. And I love it. So the dodgems, I've actually come up with a bit of a solution for this one. So just like the merry-go-round, you would load this from wherever. So the ride would come to an end and you would literally step up wherever. You wouldn't have an organised queue like this. But because we need to work with an organised queue, I've managed to find a way of doing it. The guests, when the entrance is placed here and the exit is placed here, they don't use this space. So what I'm able to do is fence off the area that they don't walk, put a chain on the bits where they would use as the exit, pretend that this exit doesn't appear, and then I can start decorating with stuff that doesn't have any kind of collision on the pad. So when you put the concrete back, you don't notice that the pad comes all the way out here. So I'm able to hide that a little bit. And then I'm able to make this bit make sense by putting some wood pallets down. So same as I did with the El Loco coaster. I'll just put some wood pallets down and then just throw in some cones and some like race kind of stuff. I'm going to put some more stuff in here, some flags maybe in the final detailing phase. But yeah, this is actually really effective. The only thing is guests don't use the space. So when you get this kind of mess at the top here, well, it's a mess. So it's what it is. But I think this is the best solution to the problem that we have of the dodgems pad. Doesn't look so cluttered, doesn't look so clustered, and it actually looks like it should be. Then we come to the forge. So the forge, I've made this look more temporary. So we've got the metal flooring down, the tactile flooring that comes down, and then I've just put more fencing. Now because this is a thrill ride, the fencing is higher. So I've got the shorter queue line fence and then the higher perimeter fence along here, and this now looks all right. I'm toying with the idea of putting in ticket booths and everything. I need to sleep on it for the final detailing phase. I need to see what comes out of designing and playing the game. I'm going to come to the ghost train in a minute because that's a big deal to show you around. Then we've got the scissor. So I've actually wanted to put flags and stuff around this one to give it a little bit more detailing. And then I've used the warning sign tactile signs here, you know, the ones that come with the game, and then I've just put those in a circle. If you want to know how this is done, let me know and I can tear it apart and show you how it's done. But this is exactly as it would look in real life. I checked with the Brighton Pier one and it's actually pretty spot on. It's pretty much how it would be. So I like this, and it's in a circle. So this now makes it look like it's come off of the back of a lorry and they've sort of sunk it down where they can. Remembering as well, by the way, that there would have been a swimming pool, so they wouldn't have filled it in. So any kind of trailer and whatever would have been just put into the swimming pool, and then they would have put a fake path over the top. So that's what I'm going to go for in the next episode when we do the fine details in the shops. We're going to have things that are going to look temporary because they're raised floors and stuff. So that's kind of what I'm going for here. The sundial, I've just put some fence around it. I'm not going to bother putting anything fancy in. I'm going to do some backstage clutter and whatever at the back here because it feels like that's where they would store stuff because it's out of the way, guests can't get there, etc. So I'm going to do that over there. But the actual ride itself is just pretty self-explanatory. It's just there. It does what it needs to do. Gyro is the one that I've actually done quite a lot of work to. Did they? Yes, they did. Those guests are walking. It's Planet Zoo's AI all over again. So Gyro is the one that I've done quite a lot of work to because this would have some special effects. So there's smoke and steam that comes up as part of the ride cycle. At night time it's strobes, and then of course you've got all of the lighting on here as well. This is the type of ride that has that kind of effect added to it. Because it's just a spinny spewy, it's high intensity, it's high octane, it's constantly in your face. And what I've done here is I've actually used hydro beams and coloured the same colour as the light that's on the fencing itself, and it looks really good. Actually, I'm going to show you what it looks like at night. If I change this to AM and just remove that. I think it looks really good. And then this background bit is a really fake background, and I like that from the back it's proper jank. If you look at the one that is in Western, it's exactly what this is like. It's proper jank from the back, and I've purposely and intentionally made the queue come around the back, so you almost have to be face on with it and to see it. But I really like how this fence has turned out. It looks good. There's the strobe. It just looks really good. It just looks exactly as this ride would do in real life, to the best of Planet Coaster's ability. Because of course we're not going to get it. We're not going to get it perfect. We're not going to get it looking like an exact temporary ride. We can only do the best we can. And then lastly, I think we're done with the rides, right? So we're just going to come over to the ghost train. So I had originally used all of the Ghostbuster stuff that comes with it, because it felt like this would be the type of park that would want to leech on an IP to try and make as much money out of it as it can. I wonder who that reminds you of. But I then thought, actually, they wouldn't buy the IP. They would rip off the IP. So if you look at Funland, they've got Mickey Mouse characters that aren't Mickey Mouse. So I've gone on here and I've called it Ghosthouses. Yes, we love a pun. So it's not Ghostbusters, it's Ghosthouses. All I've done with the outside, I've just used Cursor Drayford Manor from Reigate Lake as a base. This isn't the same, and of course it needs tidying up. I've got some stuff here that needs sorting out, but I've just used it as a base. It just felt like it needed to. And then on the inside, I have kept the Sedgwick Hotel logos and everything from Ghostbusters. That's not like copyrighted. You so much. It's like calling a pub the Regal, a cinema the Regal, or whatever. I need to do the detailing in here, and I need to do some of the fine details, you know, like the emergency exits and signs and stuff. And yes, it is a track ride, and well, that's a wall, so that's not a very good view. It is a track ride. It does have effects, and it is a shooter, so it's relatively high budget for what we're putting into this space, and it's kept low budget and janky by the fact that it's just open, and you would have to imagine that this is dark inside. Of course I need to put ceilings and stuff in here, because this wouldn't be like this. I need to lower the ceiling and stuff. But what I'm doing here is I'm taking cues from the Brighton Pier ghost train, which is awful. If you ever go to Brighton Pier, don't do the ghost train. You're going to be really, really disappointed. It is just essentially a dark room with black walls, but the walls aren't even joined properly, so the sunlight comes through, and then you just get like a couple of jump scares and a couple of boobs and a couple of just, yeah, it's weird. It really is weird. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm taking the cues from the janky style ghost train. Lots of effects, lots of things moving, but keeping it nice and cheap. We'll do an on ride of this, by the way, at the end of the video. But yeah, this is just, it is what it is. You're distracted by the fact you've got to shoot stuff, not by the quality of the scenery. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some amazing temporary ghost trains that are out there. If you go to Breen Leisure Park, their ghost train is awesome, so good. but this is not going to be that. This is going to be awful and horrible. So yeah, let me detail all of that. No, come on camera. Game's struggling now. It's really starting to struggle. It's the number of people in a short space in a small space. Yeah, so I've just waffled my way through 11 minutes. Thanks for sticking around. Let's see how it turns out. Well, I don't really know how much there is to say in this one because I think I said it all in the last update. It's quite long. Sorry, guys. But detailing and everything is now done, and we have ourselves a nearly complete park. As I said at the beginning of the episode, the next episode is going to be focusing on the shops and everything, so you see gaps and you see some bits that aren't quite finished, and that's because we're going to be doing that next week to finish the park off. But I've done everything I've needed to do. I've run out of time to do the rest, so let's actually take a tour. Let's do this differently. We're going to start over with gyro this time. So I've done quite a lot of touching up when it comes to gyro. I've added some of these weird signs. I actually realised I used these in Fundy Fun Spot. They are like the perfect fairground signs. So I've added them in the front, and they now just complete that whole view. And I've also just added in the compliance signs and stuff. And I've also added in the electric boxes and stuff. I've noticed when I was looking at the Brighton Pier attractions that they actually have their electric boxes on show, so hey, that's what we're going to do as well. I've put a ticket booth in, but of course these aren't being used because, well, you buy tokens and stuff at the front at the entrance, so they're kind of just redundant, but they're there because they come with the ride and they're kind of attached to it, so you kind of have to do all of that at the same time. And then the sundial, I've not done anything to it. Again, I've just added some of those sparkly things. I didn't really want to do anything to this. I wanted to keep it nice and bland, but of course, because it's tall, so the ride does all of the talking rather than the actual decoration itself, so that's all good. Now, when it comes to the scissor wannabe, the old school scissor wannabe, same thing. I've put the sparkly things on the front. Now, the reason I've done this is because you also attach floodlights to it as well, and that gives you some kind of like lighting and stuff when it's dark, but without actually taking away from the sparkles at the front. So it's I'll show you in the next episode when I've done all the lighting package and everything, because it's not quite ready to show you. So yeah, I've also put in the ride signs and everything in here. Now remember, these don't have names, and they wouldn't have names. Well, they might do. They might have like names and lights and stuff, but they don't always. So we're not having names with these rides. It's really weird. It feels like a really weird build, because it's like, it feels like it's a half job, but that's supposed to be how it is. Then we're going to come over to Forge. Same thing, sparkles and ride signs and stuff. This was pretty much done actually when I did the last update. This is how I actually wanted it to be. So the dodgems, exactly the same, just some touching up work, a few positions of the fences and everything that needed to be corrected, but there's nothing really different going on in here. Over to Whirly Rig, compliance signs, and nobody queuing, so happy days. I could actually probably make this queue shorter if I needed to. I might do that because I might need some space here, so I might actually make the queue shorter. Let's see, next episode, that's tomorrow's problem. And then we've got the Ferris wheel. I didn't want to do anything else to this, I just wanted to keep this as it is. I actually think I might need to make the program on this longer so that people do actually use it, because it's capable of holding 150 people, and as you can see, it's not holding any. I might make that longer. Over to the merry-go-round. So same principle. I didn't need to do anything with this one. It was all done. Just compliance signs. Job done. Happy days. Now, what I'm going to be doing in the next episode is running the cables and everything along the floor. So what you tend to find is you'd have generators and whatever, and then you'd have cables, and they get covered by the tactile red and black, not red and black, sorry, the yellow and black sign. Well, we use them as signs. You know what I'm trying to say. I don't, whatever. It's those. So I'm going to be running those along. So that's why you're not seeing electric cabinets on all of these, because they would actually be fed by a generator elsewhere, and they wouldn't necessarily have an electric cabinet. So that's, again, tomorrow's stuff. So over to Hyper Jump. Same thing, ticket booth. The ticket booth is actually facing the queue, because you typically would buy your tickets as you enter the queue, and then you give them to the ride up. and so that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing there. But yeah, we're not using ticket booth, so it's just there for decoration. And of course, what I've done is I've intentionally mismatched all of the colours as well, because they would just, all of the ticket booths would just be loaded onto a lorry and they'll just be used wherever they're needed, unless they come as part of the actual attraction itself, but these ones don't. So it's great. It's awesome. It's building a park like this is great because you can cut so many corners and it's legitimate. Like, there's stuff that you wouldn't see in a real life park that you can get away with here. You know, things like sack trucks being on dirt and stuff not being hidden around here through the back, and really poor queues. Now, by the way, the one thing to remember with this Harris fencing, I forgot to say this in the very beginning, is that unlike these ones where we tend to hide them in walls and stuff, and it's fine, we allow them to clip into walls because we need a shorter length, Harris fencing, you can't do that, because they are supposed to be temporary fences, so you have to make them fit in the space that you've got, and that's why you have this all jank. And they also, if you're going for realism, they would never be in a perfect straight line. You have to rotate them slightly as they're being placed down, so that's why you're seeing this as being a bit janky, because it's supposed to be like that, right? And then we're going to come to the, I think we've done everything, it's just the finale, which is the Ghosthouses. Oh no, I've moved the sign. Hang on. I don't know what I've done. I need to just remove. Oh, I'll fix that. It's fine. So the Ghost Hunt, I've moved the building because I needed a little bit of room, and I have now moved the sign. So I need to actually move that forward. I'll do that as part of the tidy up, because I'm not re-recording this part of the episode. It's taken me long enough to do this as it is, but I've put some spoopy stuff outside. So what I've done is I've spooped this up rather than spooked. So I haven't spent much money doing this. Like these out the front, I took the cues from the Brighton one because that's what they do. They just put these like weird things that move. And the closest I've got to this weird thing, inverted commas, are these coffins. So we just going for that kind of vibe. In the queue, I've just put some stuff down. So we've got like the clock and the fireplace, and you know all the just the typical stuff you find spookiness. Compliance signs and everything everywhere. And then the actual station itself, I'll change the camera. The station itself then is really quite simple. And I've just put in a load of detailing in here. So again, it's just a Harris fencing that you'd separate from the ride booth. You wouldn't have an established ride booth in this one. But there's all of your electric cables and your AEDs and your compliance signs. All of that sort of stuff is all in here now. Yeah, do you know what? I'm pleased with how this turned out, because it has to be barren and bland. This isn't a Curse of Drakeford Manor style attraction. This isn't big bucks. This isn't super detail. This is jank and spoop. Oh, it's just thrown together and it's great. So yeah, we're going to come into the main hall. We'll go on a ride on this, by the way, shortly. I've added in some more effects. I've put some cobwebs and stuff in, and I've just put some more animatronics and a couple of chairs and whatever, because it felt like it needed cluttering a little bit. So that's what I've done here. I've tidied up this back wall. It was exposed brick before, and I've now just put like a sheet down, and then I've just added in some lights because it was missing some lights. So we're going to come up there we go, to the next floor. This is perfectly fine. The one in one in Brighton doesn't have side rails, and it does this. It's really weird. It's like, it feels like it's a health and safety nightmare waiting to happen. All of the targets and everything on the wall, and just a bit of air conditioning because the building does need some kind of airflow. And I've just put in CCTV, and then we come through this way. This, by the way, this would all be like stage smoke. So even though we're using, whoop, that's the wrong camera. Come on. Even though we're using the proper effects in here that we use on roller coasters and stuff, so we expect it to be big budget. This wouldn't be. This would just be a smoke machine that's got the cheap fluid added into it. Like, it's just, yeah, perfectly jank. We're going to come in this way, and then we're going to go into the area again. Lots and lots of stuff to shoot. I've added a bit of detailing in here, and then we go into this area here. A couple of crows that I've added just for some special effects, and then you go down the ramp. Hang on, how am I going to do this camera? There we go. Down the ramp this way and back to the station. So you can see, like, it's proper spoopy. It's rubbish. It's crap, and it's supposed to be. And then on the outside, it's just an imposing building. Really uninspiring, like not doing anything. So guys, that brings us right nicely to the end of this episode. This is how the whole thing is looking from above. This is how it's looking from the sightline. I really like how this has turned out on the sightline. Like, I'm chuffed. I'm really chuffed. So yeah, thank you so much for getting to the end of this episode. The next episode we'll be finishing this off. We're putting in all of the shops, the final touches, the detailing. I've got some stuff to do to the rides and everything, so I can't wait to wait for that. Guys, if you joined me in the chat and on the premiere, thank you so much for coming along. Really do appreciate you hanging out with me. And of course, until we speak again next week, please look after yourselves. Take care. Bye bye.